So this is the MacBook Pro with M1 Pro processor having 10 cores of CPU and 16 cores of GPU. The design is not a general Apple design. I mean, yes, it looks very similar to the prior MacBooks, but this time Apple actually did not go thinner and lighter by removing important stuff and just in a very un-Apple fashion increased the weight and made it thicker, which gave us a 99 watt-hour battery and a mini LED display. So even the display is thicker, probably because of all the tech it has being a mini LED and 120Hz panel. And they also gave real ports to the Pros like 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, SD card slot. They also gave a MagSafe charging port so that your USB-C ports are free to do other stuff. This is great, not only because of the ports that we got, but that it might be the starting of Apple listening to customer feedback and not being stubborn. With that said, this laptop is heavy. It measures about 2.1 kilos and feels very sturdy. Although it's not all pros, the edges of this laptop are actually very sharp and sometimes feel very uncomfortable to use. It has the same high quality hinge that MacBooks are famous for. It opens easily with a finger and the hinge is still very precise. You can set the display at any angle from its range and it won't wobble. These are the small things that improve the user experience, which they call as attention to detail. Despite being a 16-inch laptop, they have considerably shrunk the size and it fits comfortably in a normal size laptop bag. You would be having zero complaints with its build quality in years to come. Let's talk about the speakers.
Well, here this move was great because it gives more screen in the similar size chassis. They have increased the screen by almost 20%, which is really commendable as it's a watch. The screen just bleeds.
This has by far, undisputedly, the best speakers on any laptop. Like when I heard them for the first time, I was surprised about how good they are. Bass, clarity, everything is there. It has a very rich sound profile and are also very loud. As they have added woofers in it, it also gives real bass and not the fake one which many small speakers have. I think Apple has mastered the speakers on its devices, be it iPhone, iPad, laptops, and I don't know when will other companies match up to its level. Their laptops are also very costly nowadays, and Dell's XPS or Razer speakers are also good, but believe me, it's in a league of its own. Like you don't need a Bluetooth speaker with it. So when you open the laptop, you are greeted with this big, bright, beautiful and very smooth screen. It's somewhere in between 2K and 4K in resolution, is a mini LED panel which supports Dolby Vision HDR and has 2500 local dimming zones, which is greater than what their Studio Display XDR has. So here the quality is as good as one can expect. Obviously, it's Apple, so the color calibration is on point. It covers 99% of sRGB, 83% of Adobe RGB and 98% of DCI-P3 color gamut. It's a pleasure for photo or video editors to use it. Now I did not expect them to give 120Hz, but here it is. Truly speaking, I don't find much of a difference, but glad that it's here. We cannot end this part without talking about this beautiful notch. They could have easily removed it because it only has a camera and light sensors in it. No Face ID. Yes, this huge notch doesn't even have Face ID in it. Well, we might never know why they did it. For instance, the XPS has even thinner bezels but still houses a camera and sensors for Windows Hello. Speaking of bezels, they have considerably shrunk them and it looks very good. Yes, it's not at XPS levels, but it's okay. One thing I don't understand is why are they running after mini LED and not giving an OLED? OLED panels would have made this device even thinner. As you can see here, even the screen part is very thick, which could be reduced. Maybe supply issues or brightness level might be the problem, but their phone's OLED panels do reach 1500 plus nits, so that is that. One issue that you might see is that because it has dimming zones and it isn't an OLED, there is a little bit of ghosting when the background is black. That's a minor issue. It didn't distract me much. Even the notch didn't distract me much because the software is optimized to hide it. Even when you see YouTube videos or movies or working on Excel, basically that small strip of screen is only for menu bar, I guess. Okay, so I have this theory. Like any new company's base foundation is on solving an issue that persists in society, but Apple itself creates a problem and then in a year or two solves it. I'm talking about the notch here. or not using an OLED because the tech for both is definitely available. Well, let's leave it to them and focus on this keyboard, which is yet another example of creating a problem and then solving it after some iterations. Their butterfly switches were definitely plagued with n number of issues, so they dragged it for some years and then solved it with what they had many years ago by naming it Magic Keyboard. But this is a tried and tested keyboard with good key travel and feedback with low noise while typing. While we are here, let's talk about the performance. In benchmarks like Cinebench, it gets 1500 plus in single core and 8700 plus in multi-core. And this is a 10 core CPU model. In Geekbench, it gets around 1760 plus in single core and 11600 plus in multi-core. So again, I'm telling you that this is the 10 core model. In comparison to that, M2 in single core Cinebench R23 benchmark gets around 1580 plus in single core and 8600 plus in multi-core. So if you get a deal in which you can get an M1 Pro for $100 more, you should go for it. In Geekbench 5, M1 Pro 10 core scored regularly above 12,000. The fans on this device are very silent and also runs occasionally because this is an ARM processor. It runs on very little power and thus gives almost 2 to 3 times battery life than an x86 equivalent. So let's talk about the battery. I have completely stopped looking at the battery because it's so good. It lasts for almost 2 or even more days depending on your usage. You don't have to worry about the battery at all, and also it's equipped with a 160 watt charger and has the maximum capacity of battery that is allowed in a laptop to travel with. Now let's talk about the main thing, but also might be a controversial point, is that this particular model costs $2,500 and the 1TB model costs $2,700, which is quite high. But yes, this is a laptop which will last for many years, so effectively it will cost you a little more than a Ryzen or even a Dell. But then also this is a very future-proof device. And I think eventually even Dell or other companies will also get to the ARM architecture rather than using x86 because the ARM has many advantages to it. So that is for me in this video. Please like, share and subscribe if you like the content. Thank you.